The NFL playoffs are here after 18 long weeks, and we will be covering it each and every Monday because I have created my NFL playoff tier / NFL playoff power rankings. And I've created 4 categories where I've dropped all of the teams into. And if you're watching on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel, you will see that we are once again in Photoshop, just like how we are with our NHL power rankings. And I have 4 categories where we will drop all of the playoff teams. And I won't even need to move any of these teams around when we reconvene next Monday because I've created the perfect power rankings from the go, and there will not be any editing. That is what I assume is going to happen. We will see when we reconvene next Monday. But here we are with the 4 tiers. Category 1 is one of these teams will win the Super Bowl. Category 2, you might get close, but this isn't your year. Category 3, you've got room to grow. And category 4, LOL ... because these teams in this category make me laugh because they are not serious teams. Let's get this underway. We are going from 4 to 1. Let's drop our first team into the NFL playoff tiers / power rankings. I really couldn't decide on the name, so I kind of just named it all and both. First team, first up, the Houston Texans, who stopped being a serious team when they lost to the Chiefs, but then they got their serious card forever taken away for this season when they lost in a horrible manner to the Ravens on Christmas. Like, at that point, you are no longer a serious team. I'm sorry, CJ Stroud. I bet against you last year in the playoffs when you beat the Browns, and I didn't expect that out of you at all as a rookie quarterback, and it was a great win in the playoffs, but your serious card has been revoked. You are not a serious team. But also in this category of not serious team / LOL ... is the LA Chargers, who Justin Herbert's the greatest quarterback on earth in hypothetical situations, but the Chargers have never been a real team, and they're not going to go very far in these playoffs. And one of these teams has to win, which is the fun thing about this tier, is that we will see one of these teams next week because they do face off in the first game this Saturday in the playoffs in Houston. So one of these teams we'll be talking about next week after they win a playoff game. I assume it's going to be the Chargers, who go to Texas on the road and go to Houston on the road. Texas do the state. Go to Houston on the road and beat the Texans, but we will see which one of these LOL teams makes it to the next round. Next up, the Denver Broncos, who the large reason that this is the LOL Broncos here is they're facing the Bills in the first round. They're going to be one and done. I don't care what you believe the Broncos can be at the peak of their potential. They're not beating the Bills in round 1. Thank you for being here. You almost made the You've Got Room to Grow category because Bo Nix is a rookie and he's got room to grow. This year, though, you're not a serious team. Next up, last in the LOL category, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin gets away with a lot right now, and the disaster that their offense is at the current moment, it's shocking. It's shocking because they look decent. They look like they could actually score and have this amazing defense for so long in the middle of the season there, and they have just been so flat the last, 5 weeks of the season? Are they on a 5-game losing streak to end the year? I believe it's been not great in Pittsburgh for many weeks now, and it's inexcusable for how they started things to where they ended up. It is 1 loss to the Bengals, to the Chiefs, to the Ravens, to the Eagles, and then they finally beat the Browns way back on December 8th, where their last win came. They are not a serious team. They might, who knows? They might upset the Ravens. I really don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, not a serious Super Bowl team. I'm sorry, Russell Wilson. You tried to make this a thing again. You tried to make Russ a thing again, but not this year. Not this year. Let's move on to the You've Got Room to Grow category. That's category 3 as we work our way from 4 to 1. As a reminder, in the LOL category, we had the Chargers, the Steelers, the Texans, and the Broncos. Now, the Washington Commanders lead off our You've Got Room to Grow category because the Commanders, I could see in the next round. I can maybe even see them in the conference finals. Like, they've been running on a lot of magic juice. Them against the Bucks this upcoming weekend is going to be a close matchup. I'm a huge Baker guy, and just as a reveal here, the Bucks are in the "you've got room to grow" category. Big fan of Baker. I love his, if borrow a term from hockey, his compete level. I don't think there's an NFL player right now in this league competing harder than Baker Mayfield. But it's hard for me to say that Baker's going to win 4 rounds of football. It's impossible for me to say Jaden Daniels is going to win 4 rounds of football. I've seen the Commanders be too shaky too many times this season. Same with the Bucks. So these two teams, big fans of what they got going on, especially offensively. Defense, they can be suspect. We saw the Bucks almost lose in the last week of the season there. But these two teams, great offenses. Quarterbacks I'm a big fan of, but they've got room to grow. They're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, but they got bright futures if they can keep the band together. Next up, we got the Rams, who are playing the Vikings this weekend. That's going to be a great game. And I look at this Rams team and I say, they're obviously not the Rams team from a couple of years ago now that won the Super Bowl. They were loaded up that season, and they're obviously not that team, but the weapons they have, like, they're dangerous. They are a dangerous team, and I believe in Sean McVay as a head coach and that he can win any football game with whatever personnel he has. He's such a brilliant mind in scheming, in game planning, that the Rams are always going to be dangerous. Now, do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year? No, I honestly don't. But they've got room to grow in that they can keep building upon this team next year and going forward. And I could see the Rams doing some stuff here in the playoffs, but definitely not winning the Super Bowl. A team that's definitely not winning the Super Bowl is the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if Jaden Daniels, if Jordan Love is going to be healthy this weekend to play. I don't know if Jordan Love is going to be in the game they play this weekend, so we will see how that goes. But I don't trust the Green Bay Packers, especially the Jordan Love health thing is scary. They are playing the Eagles this weekend, who the Eagles are in the "you might get close, but this isn't your year" category. There they are. They are the first team in that category. But the one thing that stands out to me the most about the Packers is the receiver room, and how every week, like, if you had any of the Packers receivers in fantasy, you never knew who to trust. There's never a go-to guy, and you could be like, "Oh, that's good," because like they have so many weapons, they can go to any of these guys. But for me, it just, when you're watching these games, it's like they don't have a guy to go to. They don't have that guy, and I feel like that holds them back a lot. The defense isn't the greatest defense either. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see better defense out of them. I feel like the Packers have a bright future, but this isn't their year. I don't see them winning the Super Bowl at all. I'd like one of their receivers to emerge as the guy. I don't think it's been Jaden Reed, even though he had a good little start to the season. I'd like to see one of their receivers emerge as a good guy. I want to see a healthy Jordan Love. So Packers are in the "you've got room to grow" category. That's category 3. The teams in there are the Commanders, Packers, Rams, Bucks, and the Eagles. Kick off the "you might get close, but this isn't your year" category. Adding Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles was such a darn cheat code. How did everybody miss that? I missed that entirely. I didn't go after him in fantasy or anything like that, or like pick the Eagles to finish to look this good when they look this good. But Jalen Hurts also might be a little banged up. Couldn't play the last week of the season. I assume they're going to find a way to get him ready for this weekend, but against the Packers, that's you can watch that for upset city. I don't think the Packers win a whole bunch of rounds. I don't think they win 4 rounds here. And the Eagles are primed to get upset somewhere here. They're a very good football team. I have them in the second category for a reason. I think they could go to the Super Bowl. Do I think they could win it? No, but this could be Super Bowl destiny team, and then just falling short. That's why they're in the "you might get close, but this isn't your year" category. Hurts has been unbelievable for a number of years now, and they were so disappointing last year in the playoffs and at the end of the regular season when they completely tailed off, that this could be the year where they regroup. And they go a little, and nobody's expecting them to do a lot of damage. So then this year they actually win, and they knock off a couple teams that are in a little bit of a weaker NFC, and they find their way to the Super Bowl, but then lose to one of those really high end AFC teams. And then last team, we only got two teams in this category that you might get close, but this isn't your year category. It's the Minnesota Vikings, because the Minnesota Vikings can definitely win a couple of games, but they can't win the Super Bowl because Sam Darnold is their quarterback. And they got completely exposed by the Detroit Lions on Sunday night in the last week of the regular season. We saw many weeks this year that the Vikings look like one of the best teams in the league. And you go through their schedule and you're like, you know what? The level of competition they played wasn't the greatest. I look at their games against teams that we know are really good teams. You know, they eke out a win against the Packers. They lose to the Lions. They eke out a win against the Seahawks. They eke out a win against the Cardinals. They eke out a win against the Bears. And you're looking for really good signature wins. They beat the 49ers early on, and we're like, oh, the 49ers were never good. And I'm on fraud watch with the Vikings. Now, like I said, there's a reason they're in this second tier. They might get close, but eventually with this team, they're going to go up against one of these teams in this top category, which are the Lions, the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs. And when the Vikings go up against one of these teams, one of these real teams that can win the Super Bowl, Cinderella's night will end. That's going to be the day for the Vikings. And it could be against the Rams, in all honesty, in week number 1. The Vikings, great season. Awesome stuff from Sam Darnold. You got something. You got to figure out now what you got to do with JJ McCarthy. Maybe you just bring them both back next year. You just have a luxury. There's a great riches there, but they're not going to be able to be one of these teams, whether it's in the Super Bowl, whether it's in the conference championship game, whether it's in the second round. The Lions, we all know the Lions, the most dynamic, the most explosive offense in the National Football League. And now, after Sunday, you have to be concerned, if you are the other three teams in this category, that the Lions, even though they have the most depleted defense in the history of mankind, have figured out how to play great defense. So the Lions obviously can win the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, I don't even need to explain the Chiefs, going for a three-peat, never been done in the Super Bowl era. It would be incredible to see. I don't know how any impartial football fan is rooting for the Death Star, is rooting for the evil empire that the Kansas City Chiefs have become, but you also enjoy watching greatness. I know if they make it to the Super Bowl, I'll probably be rooting on the other side, but my money will probably be on the Chiefs. They're my favorites to win it again, but I don't know how much my heart is in them winning again. The Ravens, Lamar, one of these years needs to get it done. We can't keep looking at this dude's career and just keep saying, like, one of the best regular season performers we have in the last long time in football, and then he keeps failing in the playoffs. One of these years, Lamar's going to get it done, and why not the year that they signed Derrick Henry? Like, it's the same thing with Saquon in Philly. How didn't we see this coming, where Derrick Henry is now in the best running offense in the league? This thing is just clicking. Harbaugh's there cooking up some great scheming against whoever is on the other end of the field. I think their defense can hold up against anybody. It's just a matter of, like, do they still execute how they executed in the regular season in the playoffs? Because year after year, for some reason, their game plan switches once they reach the playoffs, and they are not the same team anymore. And then the Buffalo Bills and Superman himself, Josh Allen. My heart is with this team winning the Super Bowl, just for the sake of all fans who have suffered long. Well, the Lions too, but the Bills a little bit more with how close they are to my home. The Bills and Josh Allen. Josh Allen can win any football game he's in. Like, that's the beginning and end of Josh Allen as a quarterback. He can win single-handedly any games he's in, as long as his defense gives him a little. And even when his defense doesn't give him a little, he can still find a way to win. So that is my NFL playoff tier / power rankings for the playoffs, week number 1, as we head into round number 1. Let's go again from the bottom up. LOL, the Steelers, Chargers, Texans, Broncos. You've got room to grow. Commanders, Packers, Rams, Bucks. You might get close, but this isn't your year. Vikings and Eagles. One of these teams will win the Super Bowl. Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be listening or watching right now, and I appreciate you for that. Good night from Toronto.
And that is how it's done.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Jesse Blake, the guy that likes to hear his name twice in one sentence. Sure, I know him. No, he doesn't have